think, Morgan? Ryder found himself sitting forward in the cane-backed chair. He had believed he would be bored on Jamaica, with backwater colonial contentiousness. He found himself, instead, grinning. Who the devil was this woman who juggled 3 men in and out of her bedchamber with such skill?
"I doubt it's cherries he tastes,"
said the man named Morgan, tilting back his chair.
"But I tell you, young Lord David licks his lips."
"Ask Oliver. He can give us his legal opinion of the tart in question." Oliver Susson was a very good attorney. He blessed the day he arrived in Montego Bay some 12 years before, for he now controlled 3 sugar plantations, since all 3 owners were living in England. Not one of the owners seemed to mind that he was a competitor's attorney. He sighed now. He had heard every provocative comment, and he never showed any emotion save a tolerant smile. He said with an easygoing bonhomie,
"My dear sirs, the lady in question is the queen of desserts. Your jealousy leads your tongues to serious impertinence."
With that, he ordered a brandy from a quite striking young woman with wild red hair and a gown that offered up breasts as creamy as the thick goat milk served with the coffee. He then opened an English newspaper, shook the pages, and held it in front of his face. What the hell was the woman's name? Who was she? Ryder found that he really didn't want to leave the coffee house. Outside, the grueling sun was beating down, piles of filth and offal on all the walkways, thick dust that kicked up even when a man took a single step. But he was tired. He needed to get to Kimberley Hall, and he needed to soothe Grayson's doubtless frazzled nerves. Grayson was probably even now at the dock, wondering where the hell he was. Well, he would discover all about this so-called tart soon enough. He paid his shot, bid his new acquaintances goodbye, and strode out into the nearly overpowering heat of the late afternoon. It nearly staggered him, and he found himself wondering how the devil one could even want to make love in this inferno. He was immediately surrounded by ragged black children, each wanting to do something for him, from wiping his boots with a dirty cloth to sweeping the path in front of him, with naught more than twigs tied together. They were all shouting, "Massa! Massa!" He tossed several shillings into the air and strolled back to the dock. There were free blacks in the West Indies, he knew, but if they were free, they couldn't be more ragged than their slave brothers. On the small dock, the smell of rotting fish nearly made him gag. The wooden planks creaked beneath his boots, and there was a frenzy of activity as slaves unloaded a ship that had just docked. Both a black man and a white man stood nearby, each with a whip in his hand, issuing continuous orders. He saw Samuel Grayson, the Sherbrooke manager and attorney, pacing back and forth, mopping his forehead with a handkerchief. The man looked older than Ryder knew him to be. When he looked up and saw Ryder, Ryder thought he would faint with relief. Ryder smiled pleasantly and stretched out his hand.
"Samuel Grayson?" "Yes, my lord. I had thought you hadn't come until I chanced to see the captain. He told me you were the most enjoyable passenger he's ever had."
Ryder smiled at that. The fact of the matter was, he hadn't slept with the captain's wife, a young lady making her first voyage with her much older husband. She'd tried to seduce him in the companionway during a storm. Captain Oxenberg had evidently found out about it.
"Oh, yes, I'm here right enough. I'm not a lord. That's my elder brother, the Earl of Northcliffe. I'm merely an honourable, which sounds quite ridiculous, really, particularly in this blistering sun, particularly in the West Indies. I believe a simple Mr. in these parts is quite sufficient. Good God, this sun is brutal, and the air is so heavy, I feel as though I'm carrying an invisible horse on my shoulders. Thank God you are here. I've waited and wondered. I don't mind telling you, my Master Ryder, that we've trouble here, big trouble, and I haven't known what to do. But now you're here, and, oh dear, as for the heat, you'll accustom yourself, hopefully, and then—"
Mr. Grayson's voice broke off abruptly, and he sucked in his breath. Ryder followed his line of vision, and in turn saw a vision of his own. It was a woman. Really, just a woman.